Welcome everybody for Insight-Roleplay. We got Elf Hunter here as a returning guest. We have Mike.
Great to be here.
Hi.
Do we call you Relic or what's the preferred?
Mike is fine. You can just refer to me as Mike.
All right. Who did write together with James Bacon, the beginners for the Handbook.
That's absolutely.
Great community service that's making for the roleplay a lot more accessible to complete strangers who haven't heard of it before. And of course, MrMaxboivin from Off the Rails Roleplay.
Hello.
Let's see. Chat, if you can hear everybody, let us know. I see the 07 from Yakrep. Nice to have you hear my ear trumpet showing up, the chill dude here. And I have had at least two guys saying they're taking the wives out to dinner, so have fun talking about roleplay versions. It's just like, guys, I'm starting the show on midnight for the Americans. It's so that the guests can be on the show without needing to, stop going to work. Like leave their job to talk role playing. All right, they can hear us loud and clear. Where do we start? I titled it like Role-Playing Evil, or the capacity of evil for the show. Gave us little horns and everything to for the thumbnail to make it a bit more, people look at it scrolling by YouTube. Maybe they click on it. As we all know, like almost nobody cares about roleplay, but everybody will click for drama, which did work. It did work out. The first episode, the last 20 minutes discussing min-maxed, some YouTubers that decide to do a D&D show together, and discussing that drama gave me 5,000 views. Talking about roleplay gave me 100 views.
Well, I think I was going to say, when it comes to a game about evil and characters are evil, I think the place to start is with session 0, right? It seems to me that a conversation beyond the normal session 0 conversation has to be, at least in part, about why do these evil characters stick together? Because, that would be, there's not necessarily the loyalty, and that would be there. So thinking about why the characters are sticking together, and what is it about each other that is at least partially safe for the characters to fall back to. You know what I mean? Like, that there's an understanding about whether we're going to backstab or not backstab or things like that.
One thing that could make sense for characters sticking together could be like they're all in a gang, or they could be outlaws, like cowboy outlaws. Or, you might have one character that's more evil than the others. They don't necessarily, but you'd have to think of a reason for them to work together, at least at the premise. At least at the
there's like different texture of evil, right? Like not all evil is the same, and a lot of time, like it can be like I hate to say it, but almost like a matter of opinion, right? A matter of perspective and stuff like that. Like, the altruistic evil. Like, there's so many evil acts that have been done in the name of the greater good and stuff like that, and those characters can work well within a group. Like, that's no problem with a group of good character, right? They don't necessarily see themselves as evil either. Then there's like the selfish evil, which the one is more disruptive and more hard to play together unless you are all a party, like when we did the org game, where we're like all kind of like selfishly evil, like we just don't care about what other people think of what is right and wrong, right? We just like do whatever advance our own goals, suits our own desire. Like you basically all become like id monster and stuff like that. That's a very different thing than if you're trying to achieve a goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also like if you want to play an evil character, some of them like just work in any group, like just so they're just like be slot in. And some of them, like, it's not even necessarily obvious that they're evil in the start. You might even yourself as a player not realize that your character is evil before a few sessions in.
There's lots of reasons that a person or a character might do evil things or be evil, or however you want to think of that. Like situational influence. There might be a certain situation, like you're saying, like you start off fine, you don't even realize you're heading down a certain path, and some kind of situation pressures you into going that route. Maybe a selfish reason, or maybe to save a loved one, or whatever. Psychological mechanisms is another one, like a justification, like a moral disengagement, or you kind of reframe things in your mind, you justify things. You still think you're a good person a lot of times.
Well, justification will accompany, any person that does what we would consider evil acts. Like they're going to justify why that evil act is okay, whether that be a justification of I'm better than everybody else, or whether that be a justification of they have it coming or whatever. There's always going to be accompanied by a justification.
Yeah, and sometimes by actual questions. So it's not necessarily evil. Like doing the right thing is very hard, and then sometimes you just don't know, right? Yeah, you can have those more if you play like a serious game, right? Like a deep game. If you don't play a game like a 14-year-old, right? Let's not to insult anybody, right? Like we're like it's already super obvious, like the orc are evil and the human are good, and there's no moral quandary there. When you play like more complex game, more morally complex game, doing the right thing is not an easy question. Like are you gonna save the one orphan but let the village perish, or are you gonna it's like what's where are you gonna go? Like, and it's easy to engage yourself in a path that's gonna lead to it. And even as a GM, that can be fun to put the player in those situations.
Absolutely,
that's also one thing that it's not as simple. I think that's often like the wrong path, the wrong way to approach it. Like saying like, oh, I want to play this evil character. I don't think that's the interesting way to approach evil character. Like, think of your character like your character has goal, has desire, has objective, and what he's willing to do to achieve them, right?
Well, in a way, my approach with the Lich's tracks, since you played in it and you pretty much played the most evil character of the group. Well, besides Red Bastard, maybe he was also incredibly selfish. But the goal was, as you state, like the opposite of that. I want you guys to play monstrous races. That's the gimmick for the game, to play D&D, to roleplay in D&D. And then we figure out, okay, but how does the tribe function? And not just, devour each other. And so we came up with the caste system. The orcs are on top. They lead the tribe. The goblins are a servant class, pretty much. And they have a little bit of freedoms, but they keep it to themselves. So, if the orcs think they are under threat, the goblins get called or bonked or, abused to step back in line. And the lizard folk was just a pet, quite literally. We forgot to eat him, and he grew up out of the egg. So now that he's here, might as well raise him, fatten him up. And turns out he's sentient enough and can cast magic.
Yep, he's useful. But that's like when I approached like this character, like he said, like he was probably like maybe the most evil of the but it was really like about like I played it like as a id monster, right? Like somebody like whatever suits him in the moment, whatever like he desire in the moment, it'll do, unless there's like a very short-term reason not to, right? Somebody like stronger than you that's gonna punish you and then bring you pain, right? There's no there's no concept of a long-term plan and stuff like that. It's like I was really going like with this like almost animalistic, right? Because that's the orc that's like we often like depicted as less intelligent, so really in the moment, right? Like unless like there's the big guy right there that's gonna buck me in the head if I don't do what I'm supposed to, right? That's the only thing that get them to obey. And it's very like a strong do as they will while the weak suffer what they must, right? Kind of mentality.
Fits pretty well for D&D. The whole game is about power fantasy, more or less. So the question, well, it's not a question for that game, but why not? Why not role play an evil character? This I was prompted by this when I was watching Better with Bacon talk with Alexander McCree about Acts 2, and it was really just a sidebar. While they are discussing Better with Bacon, felt like, why do we roleplay? Well, it's to watch good triumph over evil. That's why we roleplay. And I basically did a double take of, hey, hold on. Is that what roleplay is for? Why are we presupposing that you must always play the good characters? And are we limiting ourselves from the experience of role-playing somebody evil or role-playing evil in the world? Like, on one hand, it's not a moral question. The question is about the verisimilitude of the world. Like, what makes the world real? Evil happens whether you want it or not. And I think it's fine if the players want to play the good guys that strive against evil, that try to overcome it or work against it. But I don't see a moral issue with leaning into playing an evil character and fight, like, go through the motions on that end of things, because you're still a person in the end. Like, having dark thoughts is not outside the human experience.
I agree with that completely. There's an essay called "What Is It Like to Be a Bat?" and the philosopher is saying that it's hard to know what's, because it's not like a human being a bat, it's a bat being a bat, and we can never understand that. But I don't think this is like that, because you might say we're all born into sin, or we all have the capacity for evil, and it's different types and it's different amounts. Sure, it's different for everybody, I guess, but we all have that, and we should be able to imagine that. We can imagine base desires. We can imagine reasons for justifying things. You don't have to teach a baby that. You set two babies together, one has a toy and the other doesn't. The one that doesn't is going to try and take it from him.
You're onto something. It's funny that you mentioned this essay. How does it feel to be a bat? Because like somebody like quoted that me today, like a few days ago, right? Like somebody like it's like one of those like synchronicity, right, kind of thing. Like from something that has nothing to do with roleplay. Like out of the blue, somebody like just showed that at me as a rebuke to something, and I just chuckled a bit. But like it's a whole question of like empathy, and roleplay is linked to that a lot. And people nowadays don't understand what empathy is. People like confuse empathy and sympathy a lot, and that's a cliche that's often said. And people like repeated that because like some fucking douchebag made a video like on YouTube about that with some animation, and people like said, "Oh, sympathy, empathy," but they fucking missed the point. Empathy is having a theory of mind of the other, right? It's that you need to understand that other people think differently than you and feel different thing than you, right?
Right.
Sympathy is projecting your own feeling into something else, right? When people say like empathy is like, oh, how would you feel if you're in that situation? That's not empathy, because that's not you in that situation. That's him in the situation, right? If you're thinking, how would I feel in that situation? You're doing sympathy. You're projecting your own feeling into somebody else. Empathy is about like how this person that is not me would feel in that situation, and then you have to dig a little deeper. Oh, he came from that kind of culture, this kind of like. And role play is linked to that a lot. That's what we do when we truly role play, right? The act of role playing is to put yourself, is to think as somebody else and act and make decision as this person in the given scenario, right? That's the clinical definition of role play that date from before role playing game were invented, right?
Since I like the distinction between sympathy and empathy, I feel like, after the show is over, that's the first thing I'm going to forget. So it's good to have it on video, on camera, to talk about this. The big thing about role-playing games, I've had a couple people push back on me when I started like probing this as a topic, especially in my previous video. For when you role-play a character, it's not about, oh, how would I react to this? It's, no, how does my character react? And we are not the same. So I'm aware we are not the same because, of course, I'm sitting at a table rolling dice. But also, I'm really trying to imagine, how does my dwarf monk react to what's happening? We had, what was it? We had a fight going on outside. And the fight concluded. And after the fight concluded, my dwarf decided, no, I'm going back inside and get the money from the Baroness. Because we were not, like, we were about to get paid, but things went awry. And I'm thinking my dwarf's priority list is finish the job. Anything after that is open on the table. We might help more. I might be open to goodwill. But first, I finish the business. And that was me trying, not thinking, oh, what would I do? But what would my dwarf do? And roleplay that.
And you're right on that, and sometimes you're gonna play characters that are closer to you, right? And that's the thing, the difference between empathy and sympathy, right? Oftentimes, like people think that empathy is the quality. Like people think, like say, oh, women are much more empathic. Women are not empathic. Women don't have empathy. I'm gonna explain you why.
That's a hot take.
I'm gonna tell you why soon, right? It's because people people think that empathy is the trait that you need to keep peace inside the tribe, but that's what sympathy is for. Empathy is the trait for war. Is to understand your enemy. Like Sun Tzu was saying, know yourself and know your enemy. You're never gonna be defeated, right? That's empathy in action, basically. Like you need to know how your enemy think. That's what empathy is for. When you're inside your in-group with people that share your value, share your culture, share most of your lived experience, sympathy is good enough. It's good enough as a substitute, and that's what women have more, right? That's why women like always put themselves and project their own. And when they deal with the odd group, it's a disaster because they think like, oh, imagine if you are this poor immigrant coming here, like, and you just want a warm place and then they let them in, and then they get fucking raped, right? It's like that it doesn't work. So
yeah,
that's
So the sympathy being you watch the movie of the love story and they finally find each other and give the kiss, and the woman is tearing up because she puts herself into that scene, and it's like, how would I feel? Yeah, she would tear up. But empathy being more like, oh, that's very emotional. I understand what makes her go through those feelings without tearing up yourself. Would that be like a good depiction of the difference?
Yeah, because you, since you don't project your own feeling, right? It's much more analytical in a sense, right? Like you need to have it's like we say theory of the mind. But like I said, when you role play, it's fair, it's fine.
Yeah.
To role play a character that's close to you, and then you can project your own feeling in this character. And some people are gonna do that. And but I think like you're shortchanging yourself, you can do more. And people think about those pillars of role play, right? And they always like when those pillars is exploration. And I think if you see exploration in role playing as, oh, we visit those lands and we're going to those next X over and next crawl, and then we discover, you're missing out. The interesting exploration that you can do in role playing game is exploration of the mind of somebody else. This character it's a character that you made up, but you think like, what if I was to make this character that's different than me, and try to live and think as him for a while, and then like put in different situation and see how it react. That's an exploration that is worthwhile. That's the exploration you should do in role-playing game, because that's what role-play lead you to. But I think like role-playing people that are not you, like some people say like, oh, you can only role-play like somebody that is kind of closer to yourself, like a portrait of your soul. I think that's bullshit. I think that's hogwash, right? Like,
I was about to mention the portrait of your soul, since it's in the back of my mind from your Off the Rails roleplay show. I think it was brought up there, maybe not.
Yeah, they like Phil and Arch made a show about it. I wasn't in there, but like I think in a sense, I'd say like if you play a character that is like an aspect of yourself, you're not fully role playing because you're not playing somebody else. You're not thinking as somebody else.
So it says a key feature of role playing is what you're saying. The key feature is don't try to be yourself. Try to embody somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say, I would admit that no matter what character I play, there probably is this tiny ounce of me in it. Sure.
We're human, right? And we're living being. We're biological beings. So there's always going to be like some common ground and stuff, right?
Yes. There's a little bit, but the fact that I'm able to make that into a little bit, you know, I'm able to imagine things, dream dreams, put myself in another person's shoes. Like you said, that's the benefit of role-playing, is exploring something different than myself.
I think what we're all getting at anyway is this idea that it's possible to portray evil however you define it, as Max points out, but it's possible to portray antisocial or evil characters because we're not portraying necessarily ourselves. We're coming from the standpoint and the frame of mind of that character rather than coming from our own frame of mind, which I would assume would be quite different.
Yes, and in the question, like, Zonala was asking, like, oh, the danger, are you training yourself to be a psychopath? And I say, like, well, if whatever you put in your character come back on you, you might not be fit for role playing. That might not be like, that might be too much of a dangerous, like, if you're gonna make the distinction between your character and yourself, right, and what you do in the game and what you might not be a right fit for this hobby, right? You kind of need to be able to make the distinction.
That's an argument that was made to me, and I was shocked because the guy who did it is a friend of mine that I role played with years ago in 5th edition. We did like over 50 sessions, and I made the case, or I never put it in its own video, but the role play is the ultimate safe space. It's a group of friends that you know, playing in a world that doesn't exist, playing a character that doesn't exist, pretending to be a guy that's not real, doing whatever you want to do. So to explore different sides of yourself or somebody else, where all the consequences are made up in the first place. You get to have the experience, and after the game is done, you pull out and you can reflect on it, and you form memories on it. And the memories feel real. The events weren't, but the memories feel real. I think that's what the people remember. Oh yeah, I did this session and I saved the princess and slayed the dragon. That's what they remembered. They remembered the cool stuff they have done as if they were there. Like they are aware, it's not this, it's not real, but it feels real in the memory. Does that make sense? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I'll probe Mike with this one, since you're like, is it correct? You are the psychologist. Is that the right title?
I have a doctorate in clinical psychology. Yeah.
Clinical psychology. Okay.
Yeah. I would say that when you role play, you are not training yourself to be evil any more than when you're playing a video game of, first person shooter video game, you're training yourself to shoot people. There's just no evidence to suggest currently, I'm not saying there couldn't be evidence, but there's no evidence that I'm aware of to suggest that role playing, say someone who's super selfish or whatever, increases your innate selfishness yourself. And so I think it's a misnomer to say that you're training yourself one way or another.
Yeah,
and I would have say like more so if I can add to that, like not only like I think you're like, I'm not a psychologist.
No, you're just a subject matter expert. That's what you are.
Like on evil, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the Resident Evil guy.
Yeah, the Resident Evil. That's
if you roleplay evil, not only I don't think that it's gonna make you become evil, but if you do it earnestly, with and you try to really portray like not in a cartoonish manner, right? Not like you don't do just cartoonish evil. You say like, what if I'm playing this guy that is like super driven, he got this goal and is willing to do anything to achieve it, right? And the goal can be like being rich, or the goal can be communism, whatever. Like, you know, like even if it's like a goal that would be good on paper, like and you go in that mindset and you play this evil guy that is willing to do anything to achieve his goal. It allows you to understand evil better and then deal with it in your, and that's also part of, like, you know, part of the reason where you role play, like when you do like role play thing in psychology and stuff like that, right? They say like, I'll be you and you'll be your mother, and then we're gonna replay the situation where a conflict arises.
Doesn't quite work that way, Max, but okay.
That's a movie. That's a movie depiction.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
It's the idea, right?
I understand what you're going for, but yeah.
It's a cliche, right? I'm just like, it's a trope.
Yeah, it is a trope.
I'm sure they don't do that. Like,
no, it's role play as you're describing it in therapy. It works somewhat differently than that. So it's a tool like everything else in the tool chest, but it's.
I can give you an example since I've been in one of those. I've experienced role play being used in a therapy manner, and it was a group, and they inside the clinic. So everybody that is in there is voluntarily joined. You're not forced to join for this specific thing for an hour. And the setup was this. So we are trying to teach conflict resolution, and we are using role play. So somebody plays an uncle, the other guy plays the nephew. The uncle wants to give the nephew a gift for the birthday, but he doesn't quite know what he likes because they don't talk that often, or the nephew avoids him when he tries to connect. And when the nephew gets the gift, he's insulted because the uncle has no clue what his hobbies are. And so you lean into like getting rash or lashing out and role-playing out how to not reach, like, how do we resolve this conflict without it blowing up in both people's faces. And it's a fictional scenario, so you can go through the motions without getting personal with the other guy you're role-playing with, and literally learn how do we get to a reasonable conclusion.
I mean, I think this gets us a bit off topic, but I'll say that in therapy, role play is used as a way to practice skills. And so oftentimes that's, what people are doing with role play in therapy. But back to the issue of, evil, I think one of the
Can you learn being evil through?
Wait. Yeah, no, like because when you say practice skill, it's a specific type of skill. Like there's social skill, there's interaction skill, right? So which is also like something that you could touch in like a role-playing game in a sense, right? Like by playing different character. Like you're not gonna practice like knitting, right? Which is a skill, That's role-play is not gonna help you with that. Like it's empathic skill that you develop in role-play.
No, I'm not saying that role play doesn't enhance skills. That the way we role play in just our games.
No, I mean in therapy, like the skill that you develop, like that you practice, they're all related to dealing with the other and understanding other people think.
Absolutely, they're very much related to social skills. That's correct. Yeah, that would be accurate.
You had a point there, Mike, that you wanted to lead into.
Well, I think that one of the things that for example, I'm currently playing in a game. It's a Shadowrun 3rd edition game. It's not 4D. It's definitely not, but it's in person.
You are absolved.
Thank you. and we are playing fundamentally evil people. I mean, we are very selfish. We're incredibly immune to our own consequences in the sense of we don't really care who we hurt. And, I'm portraying this character in this space. And in doing so, I have to go very much against my own impulses to do it. But one of the guiding principles is I often think of like, do I have an evil goal and I'm using good means to get to it, or do I have a good goal and I'm using evil means to get to it, right? It's the other way or the other way around. The idea is that, I want to provide literacy to everybody, but I'm going to enslave the population to, learn to read or something like that, as a crappy example.
You're forced to go to school and
Right. But the idea is that those that kind of way of looking at it, I don't want to say simplifies it, but in some respects it simplifies how to think about goal-oriented evil, in a role-playing game, but a motivation, if you will. But of course, getting back to what Max says, one of the things that is absolutely the case is that I am trying to find in this character things that I can portray, because I'm portraying their frame of mind, not my own. My own would be very much against everything my character does. But, from their point of view, they justify it, they make sense of it, and it works for the purposes of this game.
It's very much the big appeal of Shadowrun or cyberpunk style games of, hey, I'm already logged into this boring normie life in real life. I want to do something exciting in this other universe where the rules, you play fast and loose by the rules. And the oppressive megacorp overlords always hound you, and you're trying to eke out a living outside the system. With the outcasts and the weirdos and the mages and whoever megacorps don't like, that doesn't benefit them. And that's exciting. It's cool to lean into that punk culture, so to say.
But there's also they can also be level to your character as well. Like you can be very good with the people that are in your in-group, right? The people that are close to you, your associate and stuff like that, your friends. Maybe you're super generous with them, super fair, super even. Maybe you justify all kind of evil act that you do because it's harming corporation and people that work for the corporation, and they're the out group, and but the guy that worked for the corporation as a security guard is also just a guy getting a job, right? It's but you don't think about that. So evil is not as simple. It's not black and white oftentimes in those settings, right?
It can even be the guy who's the security guard was the one who was sieved through this 12-step process to make sure whoever becomes a security guard follows company guidelines and is almost hard-nosed, pushes through whatever the company says, despite his moral feelings. I'm putting my own moral quandaries aside and do the job, whether or not I like it. You can have levels to that because, mega corporation really wants to, it's all about the bottom line. Well, we're talking in the Shadowrun context, the cyberpunk context, where all corporations are evil is the presumption. So they will push for it through all layers of whoever is hired at the company for as far as they can get away with.
I mean, I think that's fundamentally, I think Max is raising a good point. I think you're raising a good point, Z. I think the issue is that there's sort of degrees of the evil act, whatever, how antisocial act or whatever, but there's degrees to it, outright, killing a house full of people is one level of evil, maybe roughing up someone for their money is another level of evil. I'm just throwing out, I'm spitballing here. But the point being is that, we can play in degrees as well, and we can play in the gray area of what is evil, what defines evil, what defines good. And that sort of philosophical exploration can actually be really interesting and as grounds for role play, and really interesting to sharpen your own understanding of the concepts.
Mm-hmm. And there's also go ahead, Elfin.
I think another, I don't know if I'm going off topic, but I think another benefit of role-playing an evil person, or at least morally gray person, is the opposite of what some would worry about. You know, they worry you're gonna it's gonna bleed into you, you'll become evil. I'd say when you role play that, it gives you something to look out for in yourself. And you know, maybe hopefully you already know that stuff before you sit down at the role playing table. But I think that's another benefit.
I mean, I think I want to lean into this. It's I've asked my buddy to like write down what his counter argument really is, because he lives in Europe. He's not going to be awake for this show, so he gave me a summary of RPG tables are not inherent safe spaces just by, and maybe it's gonna take me a while, just by virtue of role-playing a character. Other people do not dissociate your actions and the character actions. Oh, that's a tough one. I'm disagreeing there. I'd say that it comes down to the player agency, not the character agency. If you were in the theater or movie set, you'll have a script and guidance on how to portray a character, the character's actions, the depth of exploration of an activity or theme, etc. None of that inherently exists at an RPG table. You as the player are responsible for, first, what kind of character you design, what actions you choose to describe it, in what depth, what brings it to light and what to leave veiled, right? Like not going into the rape scene, I assume, you know, like what do you describe and what do you leave implied, so to say. The third, when do you use first and first person? And the fourth, how do you interact when the table goes out of in character? So, and he says, just these things reveal your inner workings to people around the table.
I think that's I don't think that's true. And I think part of this is addressed in, you know, the language of 4D when we talk about a high trust table. Because I think that when, like, I'm sitting with my friends in the in-person Shadowrun game, they know me, and they also know that I'm portraying this character, as we all are, and that character is a very different person than I am. And there's no association to my character traits or my personality traits or who I am based on the character that I portray. And I think that goes with, you know, the high trust table, because we all know each other well enough to know that we're free to play these characters without it coloring any view we have of one another.
And I think if your friend, sure, he's a great guy, whatever, but if that's what he thinks, then maybe he should not play GTA, or he should not watch action movies or things like that, because it might influence him. And maybe he doesn't do those things. I don't know.
I don't think so. Like that's why it's so weird to me. It does not collide with reality of what I know about him. It's and I don't want to single him out, because I think people in the role-playing game, well, community, people who role-play, some people think that way. And I want to figure out of how can we debunk it, or, you know, steelman it.
If somebody think this way, does that invite us to look at his character action if they would think that he would do in such situation?
Right. That's the implication. Like, it's weird to me. It's very weird. So I think, I mean, one of the things, it's clear that he imagines I am advocating for, oh yeah, just show up to your gaming table and use it as therapy. Use it as your Alcoholics Anonymous. Use it to explore your inner feelings about a topic, and basically abuse the table without letting them know that's what you're doing, which, to make it clear, that's not what I'm advocating for. And I think it's that would be a problem.
This is not exploring your darkness, your dark side.
No.
Something like that. It's exploring the character.
Yeah, it's exploring the character, that which can be dark, like exploring different type of there's darkness in the world, right? And
and GMs roleplay evil characters all the time, but it's different when it's the player,
Why would it be different? Is there any reason that GM gets to play evil guys, but the player character is not allowed to?
He did mention like the difference between third person and first person. Oftentimes when you're the GM, you do your role playing third person, right?
Yes.
While when you're the player, you're usually like role playing first person. Not everybody, but like most people, I think, or most people in our circle at least. So maybe that's a difference. Maybe like using third person give you enough distance for it to be different. I don't think it is, but
I really I really struggled to steel man the argument because I think it's just fundamentally flawed with not only the activity we're doing, but how we think, how we hold self-identity, our own ethics and morals and values versus how we're able to sort of portray a character that holds very different ethics, morals, and views and justifications for their actions. So I struggle because I don't want to give it short shrift. I don't want to cut it off. But the same side of that is it's just not consistent with really what's going on or how people seem to work. And as Elf Hunter pointed out, it's one of those things where if this were true, then any video game that you identify with, any movie you start getting sucked into would vastly alter who you are, and that just doesn't happen.
So role-playing a character does not alter who you are. That's let's go with that.
I think it can sharpen your thinking. It can sharpen thinking. It can sharpen your philosophical view on things. And you can certainly feel certain ways, but it doesn't fundamentally change your core of who you are, what's called core beliefs.
There's just like an objection I want to make because like I don't think like likening role playing in a tabletop role playing game to a video games is fair in that sense because like you're not in video game, you're not the same freedom, and in video game you're not like no matter even if they call them role playing game and stuff like that, right? Or even like the game with role playing element. They are not role-playing games.
It's a computer
you don't have the freedom,
game.
Everything is predetermined, and you have to. You're not drawn to think in character. You have you need to do to progress the story along, or to progress the game, or to gain point, or whatever to achieve. So it's very much mechanical thinking. It's not the same. It's not as involved, and you're not like you're rarely like thinking. There's few exceptions, but you really think like what this my guy in GTA 6 would do in that instinct, right? That you don't have like this. You don't have this pulsion to like depict a consistent character and thinking and going in his head and stuff like that. So, no, man, I just want to fuck that ore and beat her to get the money back, right? Just like and then you do that.
Get her in the car, pay $20, see the $20 disappear. Be like, and she's saying some weird lines. When you don't drive the car for a minute.
You're gonna shop for clothes for a while, and then you're gonna shoot a police station for no reason, and then you're gonna reload back, right?
Yeah.
It's very different. It's a very different activity than role playing when you just like. So I don't think the comparison is necessarily fair, but I also don't think that role playing it's gonna make you turn you into something you're not, right? It can help you grow, I think, because you can because if you explore different minds, stuff like that, like it's a useful skill in life as well. But
I think
maybe
others.
Go ahead.
Some people might be more impressionable than others, but the 99%, we understand the difference between the role playing and the reality. And we can use that to explore characters, grow.
So even if somebody does not understand the difference between fantasy and reality, as I think like people who enjoy fantasy stories and really try to get themselves lost in them, I can think of like times where I'd rather be in World of Warcraft than in the real world. Just get lost in a different world as a different guy. And not have to think about the consequences of my actions in the real world. I think lots of people can relate with that. I see Mike chuckling.
But you would like
Uriah put a comment there.
Okay. Which one? Oh,
something Goffman frames.
Oh, what's that? What's that?
He was. We were when you guys were talking about states of mind and role play affecting who you are. He mentioned something. He said something Goffman frames, as a allusion to Better with Bacon and Bacon's take on Goffman and the frame of reality that we all carry with us versus the game or context frames or things like that.
Right. Yeah, I see. So what was my thought?
Sorry,
where were we?
Like you're getting lost in the World of Warcraft and not thinking about the consequence of your actions.
Yes. Yeah, and it's not that I mean, for my case, I understand fantasy and reality are two different things. I always keep them separate. For the same reasons, I'm not going to buy a VR headset because it's only going to be a temptation in the realm of, let's just get lost in another world again, and lose control over time, and lose control over time and my own agency. So I'm not doing that. But people, so even if somebody might sit down at your table to get lost in a different world and smear the line between fantasy and reality, it's still a safe space. And all the other people at the table can see it happening and should be able to pick up on it. Like, maybe not in one session, but if you're playing a few sessions together, it's going to become obvious. And then you leave the game to say, okay, it happened. What do we do with the knowledge? Like in this scenario, now we know, now we can help you. Be like, maybe you should talk to a professional about this. Maybe you should reconsider therapy. So how? Yeah, or maybe like if therapy is awkward for you, maybe you should consider reading a book on the topic, or talking with close friends about it, and be like, do you understand that what happened was not real?
Go pick a fight with nature, right? That's
right. Yeah, so, I think when it comes to this issue, I think first of all, Max made a really good point. Movies or video games and that kind of media is a very different experience than role play. So, well taken correction there. But fundamentally, I think one of the things that happens with role play is in thinking about things from these different angles, it sort of sharpens your view in general, and I find this true, say, in the Shadowrun game I'm playing, in thinking about, the ways in which my character is evil and the other evil that exists in the world and, in this dystopian cyberpunk world, I have, sharpened my own view of, personal code, if you will, of what makes for good action or what makes for evil action.
That's a great point. Playing a different character with different codes of ethics will help you refine your own code and why you follow that. Mm-hmm. Because we all have them. Like most of us don't put them into words or don't think about them actively. But when push comes to shove, you take an action, and after it happened, you think back of, wait, is that who I am, or is that who I want to be?
And it's funny that you mentioned that, and also like with something you mentioned earlier, like when you talk about taking a vacation in a different world, or like escaping in a different world, so like that, right? And for me, like role playing has always been like not about escaping in a different world, but it's escaping in a different mind. It's taking a break from myself, not necessarily for the world that we live in. That's why it's probably linked to why I like role playing in a very mundane world, because I'm not looking for a fantastical world. I'm looking to be somebody else for a little while. And that might also be linked with the fact that I'm somebody in life that is extremely rigid. I have like this very strict personality. And like I'm a bit deranged in that sense, right? Like, I'm very hard to compromise. And that's why I'm very hard to live with, because I'm always like that. You need to do what's right. You cannot do what's convenient, right? Like, yeah, the cashier give you $5 too much, give it back. It's not yours, right?
You can't
doesn't
have a
matter.
couch. You can't have a couch in my living room. It's off the table. There's also
Exactly.
no table.
Yeah. Cannot have exactly. The bed cannot be too soft. Like, too much luxury, too much comfort is gonna make men weak and women bitchy. Like, just like, so you have to.
Why are the women catching flack again, Mr. Max?
This is the conversation of Max flinging women under the bus right here.
You're Max-plaining again.
Max-plaining.
So sometimes, like, having like this, it gets tiring, right? Like, and sometimes I just want to go and play like this jerk that just think about himself.
Sure. Sure.
Take a break
Me
from
too.
myself.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm sorry, Mr. Max. I feel like I'm really exposing you on my channel.
Maybe I'm bringing an energy that you're not used to.
I mean, yeah, I'm absolutely not used to it.
Nothing
But
new.
I know you for a while, so, and that's why I wanted you on the show specifically. Both you role-played Corn Pop, somebody who is extremely egotistical, extremely very short fuse, doesn't give a shit about others, but you were also at the same time the leader. Whether you wanted it or not, like, the hierarchies demanded that you are in charge. And we had amazing role-playing moments with Corn Pop. Okay, I see.
I really enjoy playing this character. I really enjoy playing Corn Pop. But yeah, like, would I do that also like for like 20 session? Maybe not. Maybe that would get tiring. Like, at some point, like like, I kind of got it out of myself. Right? We went dark. If people had watched that game, like, it went like fucking dark, right? At some point, child murder kind of dark.
That's dark.
It wasn't your child, so it's fine, right? It's the same thing as an adventuring group in a dungeon, and they slay the goblins, and after the goblins are slain, they discover there's a room full of goblin children.
That's a good point, because it was the same thing, but on the reverse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course,
like, human child.
And there was more cruelty involved in that. Mental torture in this case, I would say, trying to eke out information, and after that, just like asking questions, and the child was pushing back, and then using the child as a test of loyalty for the half orc. Which half is he, the orc or the human? Will you still slay the child to show loyalty? And then going, that was really difficult for me as a game master. I noticed, I'm not sure if I did it consciously or subconsciously, but I shut up. I'm here giving room for the players to breathe, because this is very important. And there were only a couple of scenes where I roleplayed this orc that joined you to that, like, he's also looking at what this half orc is doing. Like, he stops toying with his new sword to watch how he acts, because he wants to know, like, what are you built out of? What are you going to do?
And this scene, like, there was so much tension, right? And this is something like, this is one of the best scenes that, like, I ever role played, because, like, this tension was so thick, because the half orc was, like, conflicted in his allegiance and stuff like that, in a sense, right? And then, like, he also had to survive in this group. He knew if he would show the weakness, he would be killed on the spot. So all those different conflict. He wasn't necessarily a good guy, but he was definitely not as bad as the others.
Yeah.
But it made this great scene with a lot of tension. And if you only play like character that toe the line and always like the good guy and stuff like that, you're gonna miss on that, right? You like it's good also to have like an intra-party conflict. They're great for so you need to have like different moral alignment sometime for that, right? Not talking about the alignment, the D&D type of sense.
real alignments that matter.
that's why grimdark or morally gray, whatever you want to call it, is one of my favorite things. I've been told that I make really punishing settings when I GM, and I didn't realize it, but I guess that's what I do. And it's not a sadistic thing of just wanting to make it hard on players. It's I want to see what happens when these characters are put through it and what they decide to do. Those are my favorite stories too. And I hear a lot of people say, like, you know, if everyone is just evil and conniving and whatever, there's no meaning, there's no goodness, then there's no point. And I think if you do it wrong, then maybe, yeah, but I think it's worth exploring. Just
I will
seeing
conquer
where people go, what they do.
I will conquer the world. I will subjugate my enemies. I will enslave them and work for free to build my castle. But I will never call them the N-word because of their skin color. That's just a step too far, you know. Like, we are beyond that. Like, why? Why is the bad guy beyond cussing out people by like where it hurts them the most as well, right? It's not just like when we insult somebody, the insult what's the word? Like, it ricochets off unless you hit a weak spot. And the biggest weak spot is, you know, what you hold dear, your identity. Making fun of that is the most, like, it's not the most evil thing. I think, you know, murder and rape and all of that kind of stuff is, there are layers to this shit, so to say.
If you want a real answer to that, I can give you one.
Go ahead.
Because when the bad guy murder and steal and enslave, those are fantasy kind of evil and kind of sin, because they do it to non-real people, right? And so there's no connection in the real life. If you say the N-word, like you say, right, and you're not just like censoring yourself, I'm not going to do it here for you because it's your channel.
Everybody knows, so people can fill in the gap. Should be obvious by now.
Yeah. But you saying that word, even in a roleplay context, you're still saying the word in real life, in a sense, right? So there's no like you're losing the you get why it's different.
So people actually, for everything else, we know, oh, it's your character saying it, except like, for we make certain exceptions where you're saying the word, so therefore.
Because even if you say like oh, he get up and he take a whip and whip the child in front of him, right?
Yeah.
We all know like you didn't take a whip, you didn't whip anybody. Like there was no child in front of you. If you say he look at you and he call you an N-word, and you don't censor yourself, well, you still said the word, right? So, you know,
I did get that feeling
because it's a crime that is done by language. Describing it through language makes you do the crime, right? Make you do the action. Or when it's a different action than language, describing the action is not making the action. That's why it's different. I think it's stupid. But
I think I can certainly to jump in here before I let you go, Mike, I let you off the hook for this one, you know, to jump, Mr. Max. I did get that feeling in my, like, years ago when I ran D&D for friends, when they would do stuff like, you know, I'm role-playing the character that says stuff, and the guy turns around and says, "Shut up, asshole," you know, staring at me. And I'm trying to parse if he's trying to be in character or yells at me. And that's the part of, like, a high trust, low trust table. Are we, like, how cool are we really? Like, how well do we know each other to understand, all right, you are being in character, but also you will not abuse my trust just to insult me because you know you could get away with it. You know, like, understanding, is he the kind of guy that might play with the line to, like, get one up on me or not?
I also think that when it comes to specific slurs that we talk about nowadays, the reason a medieval person isn't going to use those slurs is because those aren't the slurs of the day. Like those, you're not going to think, you know, if you're portraying the character accurately, those wouldn't be the slurs that a medieval person would use because they don't have the cultural context that created the slur to begin with. So it's you know, it's a very different thing that way. And I also think, like, you know, in the Shadowrun game, sometimes orc metahumans and troll metahumans are referred to as greenies, and that's a slur. That would be like, you know, using a racial slur now, and we will use that word greenies because that's in character. It has the cultural context of the game around it, versus, you know, another slur that would be coming from our real life experience and our real life cultural context.
And the sad part is it's totally true. If we say certain words out loud, can very much get reported by, you know, 5 people report the channel, then, you know, the video is gone. Or the channel is gone, who knows? And it's because people watch and either they cannot tell the difference between fantasy or reality, or they don't recognize the context and feel insulted directly. And I'm sad that we live in a world where that's the reality, but also trying to work through the subject matter without, you know, getting people's feelings hurt. Like, if everyone always gets their feelings hurt, how do we ever get anything done? Or how do we reach a satisfying conclusion? Or how do we reach an answer if you cannot ask the questions anymore?
That's the whole point.
Yes.
The whole point is to shut up, like getting the stuff done and reaching the resolution.
So yeah, if people get to this point of the stream, I hope they can reframe it in their own minds of what they're okay with saying and not saying, and understand that aspect of, oh, I feel really strongly when certain words get said, to look inward. Why do you feel strongly about it? Why does it hurt? And learning to not leave, you know, the barn door wide open for anybody to pilfer your barn whenever they feel like it by the use of language.
Go ahead, Matt. I was going to say, I want to take a moment to address a comment. It says, so if you can create a made-up slur, but use it for the same marginalized group that exists in reality, is that the same? And the answer is, it isn't, because once again, slurs have a cultural context around them. Slurs in-game have a different cultural context around them. So when we refer to trolls and we refer to orcs, which are fictional, they don't exist, and we refer to them, you know, as greenies or whatever, what we're doing is building the cultural context in that game around it. Whereas if I were to invent a word in real life to call orcs and trolls, no one's going to care because we don't have them.
But if you were to invent a slur in the game to replace the N-word with the same meaning, right?
Sure.
And would people care? I don't think they would, because it's just like the magic word.
we don't have that emotional attachment because we make it up for the world. And if we play in a modern setting, like 1940s noir-themed New York type setting, they might Harlem or, you know, black neighborhood Baltimore, they might use all kinds of words that you feel uncomfortable saying, but it would be in character, and it would be the verisimilitude of the world would be upheld. If we leave all of that language out or off the table, it's okay. We are playing the Hollywood sanitized version of that world instead. Yep. And that's very much, you gotta agree with the people on the table, and you have a second layer on it on top if you decide to stream it on the internet. Because you might get your homies to agree, like, nobody, we are all cool? Yeah, we are all cool. Okay, it's all cool then. But if you put it on the internet, it's not cool anymore. It's not cool anymore.
I trust Session 0 just covers all of it.
I think that goes a long way.
Yep.
And
there was one point I want to talk about, like, so if you if you want to add to that, like I was about to swerve somewhere else.
Yes, we did say Mudblood for the Health Orc, right? That's like a classic example. The Mudblood.
Is that what you said? Mudblood? Half-breed?
Half-breed, yeah.
Yeah.
To always call out that he is not truly orc until you know, that, and also egging him on to slay the child to prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, he was always referred to by a slur. It's true.
And I mean, omelet is a slur. That's just his name. That's all you are for us, is like scrambled eggs fucking fell on the floor.
Imagine growing up and you're like, I thought that
Rat
slur was
bastard.
my name.
Jeez.
Rat Bastard was the other one. I think like,
Rat-
Corn Pop was the only one that was referred to by a name, actually, because he was the boss.
I mean, yeah.
You have to earn a name.
You made your own name a slur for people who know. I was completely clueless what it meant until you put it together for me after the show. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because I'm a jerk.
Yes. But that's why you're on the show. Subject matter expert on evil.
Yeah. Like even like the NPC that was with us, like I don't think I ever called him by his name. It was always like a new guy or something, like, you know, always like a forgot what I said, like
Greenhorn,
like
right?
Greenhorn, yeah, something like that, yeah. So like Corn Pop would refer to nobody by their proper name. It was always like some form of slur.
That's
always
how
like,
the
you know, it's
military
like
works.
Yeah, or like the ISAT, is that like the in the Indian culture where like you're always trying to put yourself over, like, so it's always a struggle for status, right? So you always try to diminish the person you think is below you, and always put yourself on top of the person you think you're above, right?
Yeah, you step on them, so you're just slightly higher.
Yeah, you can diminish somebody else, and that mean you're above them, right? Yeah. So that's how
if you ever roleplay in a schoolyard setting, that's how to do it. You know, you demean everybody around you and work yourself through the social hierarchies. Figure out, are you the nerd or are you the bully? You know, where are you the queen bee or are you just a follower trying to like get into the herd, not get outcast by the other girls and teased all the time? You know, I want to see Mr. Max roleplay a girl fucking third year grade high school getting out. Getting bullied by other girls.
High school girl can be so mean. Like,
talk about the problem of evil. Holy man.
If you want to see like the status struggle, like you're gonna see it there. Everything's about that.
But I must put on the makeup, make an Instagram reel, or nobody will like me. Shaking with the phone in their hands.
Or woman, the true evil.
That's an evil I dare not roleplay. God.
Nope.
Nicholas, you too. I'm scared of what might come out. The beast. Yeah. Inside of you there.
What I was about to say, like,
go ahead.
We talked. You mentioned a bit earlier about you about like people want to play the hero and stuff like that, right? And like and obviously that's not something that I want to do necessarily. Like I don't think that's super interesting. Like just seeing good succeed over evil, I mean that's not real motivation. Like, but like I find that oftentimes when people do try to play the hero, oftentimes they do portray like pretty evil character as well, right? Like when you fight some bandit on the road, and then like they say, okay, we yield, and then you just like fucking murder them. Right, at some point, like where's the line that you draw that, like, you know, a lot of people like are because we all understand they're not real people, no consequence. But like if you're really trying to put yourself in the mind of this character, right, killing somebody is not something that you do lightly. It's
right.
It's hard on your fucking. It's traumatic, and I think that's not explored enough.
No, I think that's a good point, because from a perspective, when you slay a bunch of orcs, right, and killing these orc warriors or whatever, you're conceptually, leaving a bunch of children without a father, a bunch of ruined marriages, you're disadvantaging a tribe or whatever. And if you look at it from a certain perspective, then you're the evil, right? You're not doing good. You're the evil if you're looking at it from the orc's perspective, right? But I think that's the thing that makes evil interesting, is because the difference between a terrorist and freedom fighter can be a matter of perspective. And that perspective that you bring to your evil character goes a long way in sort of understanding how to portray them.
But even if you, because like the orc can always like, oh, they're kind of monster and stuff like that, you can like unperson them, right? So it might be a bit like, although like I had like mouse in my home when I was living in the wood, right? It's normal part of living close to nature, and then you have to get rid of them, but I still kind of feel bad for it, right? Like, you know, I've killed a bunch of mouse, and then like, yeah, I don't know, they're eating my house. I need to get rid of them. It's a problem, right? But I still kind of feel bad for them. So I don't know how it would be with orcs or goblins or stuff like that. But oftentimes, like you also, even if like with human enemies, right? Like, oh, they're a cult member, or they're like, well, can't you like just arrest them? Can you like try to deprogram them? And they're still people, right? Like sometimes like people are so like they make life so cheap that your character would be a fucking psychopath to have no consideration for human life to that point. So there's also that, right? Even if you don't play like an evil character per se, sometimes you do accidentally.
It's one thing I really liked when in the Pathfinder game, The Dragon's Demand, which I want to say I'm playing, but it's more often on breaks than playtime in that one. But we did fight this creature, this Griov, which had like 4 arms and a weird sword. And it was fighting the guards, and a guard got killed, got slain. It's on the ground. And we finished the fight. And everybody takes turns. The other players are congratulating each other. One, Conway, was portraying his character like with this heroic stance, because he finally did the thing of like being a hero in character. So it felt good to like portray that. And I portrayed my character rushing over to the downed guard and trying to figure out if I can save his life. Because I'm not sure if he's dead or dying. And that was my first action. And that felt really meaningful for me as a player. What do you do when it's your turn? Oh, somebody died. I'm trying to save his life if I can. Even though I don't have the first aid skill, I get a +1 modifier to the roll. I don't care. I will try. I will, as a dwarf, and as a monk, as somebody who's been enslaved for 20 years by the drow, who the humans have been nice to me. The god has been doing his job to keep us safe in the manor. It is my duty to see if I can help him.
It's interesting you say that. You know, like there's this story about like the Canadian soldier when they were in Korea, and there was like Chinese attacking them, and between wave of attack, the Canadian medic would go and help the wounded on the battlefield. I mean, the Chinese wounded on the battlefield. And the Korean people ask them like, "Why you do that? They're enemies." And say like, once a man is wounded, he's no longer an enemy. He's just an injured man needing help. He's no longer a soldier. And that's a very human way to see it, right? But like that's often lost in RPG. But I think like it's, which can work for some characters. Some character cannot have that, but some characters should have that. And I don't think we have that enough.
Well, and that's, I mean, I think this is where we get to the issue of motivation and goals and whatnot, because, you know, I keep flashing back to this Shadowrun game that no one knows about except me, because it's a place where I'm currently playing evil. And there's a situation, to make it short, where we had set up this other Shadowrunner, not in our group, this NPC, to take the fall for something. And our hitter, who's you know a fighter, he gets in there and they duel it out, and our fighter wins the day. And the guy is laying there dying, and my character rushes in, and I'm a wizard. I treat his injuries, I stabilize him. And from the standpoint of someone who doesn't understand the context of that, that would look like, oh, look at me, I'm being so good to this person. But no. I'm stabilizing them because they needed to be alive to take the fall. So I'm only doing it for basically self-interested reasons, and not because I believe, you know, now that he's down and out of it, he somehow deserves to live, right? And I think that those motivations need to be expressed through your character in reasonable ways, and in ways that portray the character, so that that kind of difference can be made.
And what you say that is good, because also like even if you're like a evil or a moral character and stuff like that, doesn't mean you're stupid, right? People often talk about the paladin. Paladin is lawful good, it's not lawful stupid, right? But it also goes on the other way, right? Like if you play this evil guy, you're not like you can do good acts sometime because they're in your self-interest.
Right.
That's a whole bunch of societies based on that, right? Who force people to do good acts because it's their own self-interest.
Goes a long way. I mean, right? I mean, when you have like the group of people that we're portraying con artists in a Shadowrun world, and the group of people we're terribly selfish people, and so when we do those things, like you say, we're not stupid, we're just selfish. And that key is important. Just like when a GM portrays the big bad evil guy, they have goals, they have plans, they have, they're not dumb just because they're evil. They're going to find ways to execute these things, regardless of, the wrenches that PCs throw into their plans, right?
Yeah, so the guy who I was referring to, he is in chat, Vashik. We played the Descent into Avernus together. That's who I was quoting beforehand, asking for the bit. Now, I assume that he has missed the first 30 minutes of the stream where we went over empathy and sympathy, the differences of that, and why you're not actually training people to become psychopaths. We're revealing their true self, like uncontrolled at your gaming table. That's not a therapy session.
What he's saying there in his penultimate comment there, like
the last one,
when you say like the penultimate, the one before last, but now you made another one, so it'd be like two before last. Like when you say like with no veil between you and the scene, right? Like you're supposed to inhabit that character fully with no veil between you and the scene. Like there is a veil between you and the character. You understand the character is not you, right? Like it's not you doing those acts; it's the character doing those acts. You're just like you're in a sense like puppeteering this character. I know like some people don't like this idea, and I'm not sure if I'm fully sold on it, because but yes, you are trying to say like think about like, if I was this guy in that situation, I would act. It's not like if I was in that situation, I would act. It's an important. That's the veil that you have.
Yeah, I would second that. I think that there is a veil. I mean, there's a clear distinction between you as a person and the character you portray. The fact that so you're not trying to, you're trying to inhabit a character, but you're not trying to be the character, and that's different. Right? I'm not trying to become my Shadowrun character, but I am trying to inhabit his way of thinking and his way of acting and his way of speaking in the game.
And just to reiterate, Dr. Mike, is that right? I have to say it again. I'm never quite sure. Clinical psychology, by the way.
Yes.
And also the writer of the Beginner's 40 Handbook, to put the 40 style into words so strangers can pick it up and learn about it. You can download the book and read the book. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Mike is happy to answer them on the spot.
I'll foist them up on Bacon. I'll just say, hey, Bacon, why don't you answer these questions for us?
Absolutely.
He's also he's the co-author. I don't want to claim credit myself, just so we're clear.
I'm just giving you full credit because you show up, and he doesn't show up. He's not even in the comments.
All right.
The PDF is free, by the way.
And that's so why do people think, 40 roleplay means ignore who you are, become somebody else? Like, when I pretend to be Batman, I also think that my parents are dead, and unravel myself to get in the mental state of an orphan boy that wants to take out vengeance on criminals in the city.
Yep.
Do I really need to do that to become Batman?
It's important to have like a clean end of session, otherwise you're gonna be stuck in character until the next session.
Let me out! Sorry,
No, like-
I gotta cancel the session. My wife needs me. Goodbye. Wait, no. We need the decompression session to get out again.
Like I often say that I like to hijack my own like thought process with the thought process of the character. Like that's when I feel like I'm immersed, right? And I have some emotional alignment with the character and stuff like that. If my character feels something, I kind of want to feel an echo of that in myself. But it is not me, right? I'm not like I'm specifically trying to bring as little as myself as I can in this character, right? I'm trying to have this distinction because yes, I'm gonna put this character in my stead for the time of the session, but then like so it doesn't impact me. I'm my own person, my ego is on a vacation during that time as much as I can, right? So that's what I try to achieve. That's when I feel like I'm immersed, right? I feel like yeah, I was that guy. I have been that guy for a while.
I think the best example is when you roleplayed the Cat Samurai, of really getting out of your skin and put on the furry paws of a different character.
Yeah.
You should have had some paws to wear during stream.
Well,
or the
I'm
ears.
wearing a leopard shirt. Like,
Yeah.
There you go.
You're really getting into... Look, did you ever leave the character? Are you still there?
Oh, the character was the closest to who I am.
And it was beautiful to watch because it's the transition of, I hate this guy. I will never play a cat person too. Well, if I were to play a cat person, how would it even work? And they're like, yes, I've accepted my fate. I am Cat Samurai. Who grew up amongst matriarchy warrior caste almost, right? Like all the females were the warriors. So you're also kind of the sore thumb sticking out.
My mother was a warrior. I don't know if it was all the female, but my mother was for sure.
Right, yeah, your mother was, yeah.
Yeah. What I was trying to do with this character, and it's similar to when we play evil character, like because like when we play like non-human character, right? Like and I often say like don't play just a human with pointing ear or just a human with green skin. Try to figure out what it would be different to be like, oh, you're playing this elf that lived for thousands of years. How would that impact your concept of time? So, like I've been watching like season 2 of Free Ren now. I fucking love that show because like it explored it a lot, right? Like the elf that live for so long and like
right.
have a hard time bonding with human because they're so short lived. Like they are. I'm just gonna go around for a little while. She come back, she's 50 years later, right? And for her it's a blink of an eye, almost. But like and when I was like playing this guy, like I didn't like this cat guy. I say, okay, it's easy. Like I want to keep some of the cat attitude, the catitude, the character. But it's also like a cat that has been raised at human intelligence, so it's not just gonna be walking around knocking stuff down shelf and like saying yeah all the time, like that, and like rubbing your bottle in your face, right? It's bottle in your face, like because it's still like. So I was trying to figure out like, what would remain of the cat nature of this creature if you bring it to a human level intelligence. So that was I was trying. That's what like being aloof, not working super well with other, doing his own thing, like spending a lot of time like staring at some detail like for no apparent reason, right? Having a bit of the other kind of mindset. But yeah, like for those are the questions that are part of why we role play. Like I think you can find enough thing interesting in playing other human. Like I'm not a big fan of like playing it because I like the human spirit is so diverse, and you can play like a different character like all your life just playing human. But if you want to play something else than human, like make it worthwhile. But yeah, he wasn't evil though, despite being a cat.
So, Elf Hunter, how does it feel to still be stuck playing an evil character, never to be released? Come on.
I don't know what you're asking.
Why are you so bad? I just need to know. Like, do you need us to get the police involved or a therapist or,
We already get a therapist.
Well,
we can all ask Mike after the session.
Sometimes it is fun. I like the idea of just playing just a bastard. Just because in real life, I'm, not wanting to step on toes sometimes. I'm a bit too much like that, and I don't want to be like that all the time. And when I could just role play this jerk, it's cathartic. It's really fun. That's another reason. Like we were talking about all the benefits of it. You can explore a character, you can learn whatever, but also it's just fun. It's enjoyable. Yep. Now, I want to take it a bit further. There are some evil character ideas that probably are not fun, that probably a lot of people would not want to do. Like horror stories. The guy that's hacking people up with an axe. Do you want to be that guy? Even among, like, I've asked other aggressive role players, like, would you guys ever play like just a depraved person? Would you ever do that?
Oh, like,
and even among them, they say
Jason Voorhees, those are not character. They're like force of nature. Like they're like entity, right? And they're not person per se. They don't have like personality and stuff like that. They're just mechanism for, right? I don't think they're interesting to roleplay for that reason.
Well, there could be that, and there could be like maybe you could roleplay as this guy who's trying to be good, but you have this passion or this desire, and maybe you have to roll against it or something, that you're fighting against your inner drive. And I think that would be interesting to roleplay. Maybe very uncomfortable, maybe not fun, but interesting to explore. And I found that some even role players are not interested in that.
What, like, okay, I understand that the argument of the like Chainsaw Massacre character who's like almost beyond human, evil spirit incarnate, or like especially in horror stories that that there's lots of the humanity has left already at that point. Now I'm thinking of, would you role play Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones, completely spoiled brat that takes gains a taste of torturing, women.
What about like Jeffrey Dahmer, right? Like which
right.
Some people say, and I don't know how true it is, right? That he had those compulsion, and that he tried to fight against them. He tried to find help, and then like he got ignored, and then like at some point he couldn't resist anymore, and did all those horrible thing. What if that's like? I think the problem I would have with playing such a character, although it could be interesting, but for other people around, it would be like such a fucking bummer. It'd bring like it just wouldn't be fun, like, because it's so like such dark subject, it's I don't know, it's feel like maybe on a one-on-one game you could do that, stuff like that, but even for the GM it'd be like so fucking heavy.
Yeah, that is the part of the high trust being really important, that you can say, okay guys, it's getting too far. When we role played Delicious Dregs, I was okay with a lot of things. But when you took that orc woman in the tavern, lifted her over your shoulder to go to the bedroom, that was for me, okay, well, that's my veil. I'm pulling the veil here. And everybody knows what the orc did to the orc woman alone in the bedroom in the tavern. There's no question. And I would only explore that scene if I think there was a question that needs to be explored, like maybe she wants to kill you for something else you've done earlier. But that was not important. And another point that I experienced was, the humans are running away after you've slain the barbarian warriors. But a couple people were like hiding, were stuck. That's how you got the child. At first I was thinking making her a little girl. And I thought, wait, this might get too dark. And I'm not comfortable role-playing any kind, like an abuse to a little girl. And I think the other players would probably not be okay with that. But I think I can get almost everything else done if it's just a boy instead. We can get all the heavy scenes done without this cloud hanging over our heads of why are we role-playing this out,
That was a good instinct. And if you had made a little girl, I probably would have like put the tension there without being super explicit with it. But I would have fucking make you uncomfortable. I would make you like
Yeah.
I would have brought the tension, right? But I like tension in my game. I like when
Yeah.
like people like kind of like just on the edge, right? I want to just on the limit. It's risky because like, everybody else's limits different, right? And mine might be a little further than most, but like I don't think I would have gone like all like putting my hand in our pennies, right? Just like right away.
That's the thing of we are being in character, and we are all trying not to break the rule of don't speak out of character, right? We are preserving the verisimilitude of the world. We are portraying it honestly as much as possible, but also, some things you don't want to do. You just don't want to do it, and I'm not here to force the players to, you described what your character is, do the thing now. That would also feel a violation of trust as well. So any thoughts on that? I want to leave it to you guys. Go ahead.
I was about to say, like, there's a thing also like in Session Zero, like if you want to play like those kind of game, like very dark and stuff like that, that's like when we decided we play a monster game, I told you another, I said, okay, we can do that, but be ready that I'm gonna be a fucking monster.
And I was ready.
Yeah. Like like if I were like to keep with the example of like Jeffrey Dahmer, if I would play like with like it would be like a GM that I'm used to, that I know well, like maybe like somebody like Phil and stuff like that. It's like, I want to play, like I want to try that, like experiment, like playing this Jeffrey Dahmer kind of guy that has this compulsion that he cannot resist, but he's trying his best to do, but at some point we know he's gonna fail, right?
Yeah.
But that would be like the purpose of that game, right? It's not just a character you throw in a party. It becomes what the game is about. Or
it's the premise of the game, why we play.
That's what it is. So I think that's also like something you need to discuss up front and like have buy-in at the table, because otherwise, like, man, it's gonna be heavy.
Well, it would not just be heavy. It might transgress against people's willingness to go there emotionally and cognitively. So that might be a big deal. Like, there's just certain things that, I wouldn't want to identify with or portray or imagine if I can avoid it. Because for me as a person, they're just way outside the bounds of what I find acceptable.
And it's like, what's the benefit of exploring that side, right?
Yeah.
Like at some point you think, I see benefit understanding this kind of character, and I actually don't need to know how a pedophile thinks to go where he would go, to like put a word on it, right? I don't want to explore that. I'm putting a lid on that, and that's okay. That's the whole thing of we had so many years of role-playing tables saying, lines and veils and X cards, and fill out the sheets to tell me all of your preferences, and let's use BDSM nomenclature to describe it all, to go for it. But 99% of problems can be solved with talk to the players, communicate, high trust table, establish friendships.
Read the room.
Read the room, yes.
The room.
A lot of people cannot read the room. They need to learn that.
Yeah.
I think my limit might be farther than most people. Surprisingly, I don't know. But
it's the darkness of your soul.
I'm like, what does it say about me? The darkness.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm a bit disappointed. I thought it was like I didn't expect like it would be like therapy hour. I thought it was the rapey hour.
Oh my god.
Oh yes, as Shauna used to
talk
say,
about reading the room.
I think there could be benefit to role-playing certain things or role-playing certain characters that are out there. I'll just say, I wouldn't role-play certain like scenes. Just be implication. I think there could still be benefit to exploring characters like that, but you got to have just the right people. Everyone's got to be on board, and I think I'd be okay with it. But I mean, who knows? I might get halfway through the session and just feel sick or something. Be like, never mind. But
That's the part of like you gotta have room after the session of like, you okay? Like, you want to continue this character? Want to continue the scenes? Or do we just want to go back to high fantasy and slay orcs instead?
And again, role-playing that kind of character, the benefit is not it's so fun, fantasy fulfillment, I want to be like this guy. It's not that.
Challenge.
It's a challenge, and it really goes into horror well. When you watch a horror movie, it's not because you want to see people cut in half, presumably, hopefully not.
Except for some that do.
Yeah, not me. But I like gruesome things sometimes because of the tension, and it like gets that scary feeling in you. Not because I want to see somebody hurt. So if I'm role playing something farther out there, it could be another reason could also be, you know, what's the greatest horror? It could be finding out that you are the monster. What's worse than that?
It's exactly what I was going to say, right? Like that's like since my younger years, right? Like when I have like nightmares and stuff like that, like monster dream, like I'm always like it's always like I'm always like end up like, it's weird to explain, but like where I am the monster chasing down people and stuff like that, and I don't want to. You know, it's like if you were like a werewolf, right? But you're in the wolf and you're eating people stuff, but like you're still, your human brain is in the back, right? You cannot control yourself. The beast took over, and you're like powerless to witness that, right? It's kind of weird that, but like I often say that in horror, like that's the most terrifying horror. Like Elfhunter just said, it's like when you're the monster, you're being turned to the monster against your will, and at some point, like you don't realize at first, but then at some point you have this moment of step back and say like, man, I am the fucking monster. I am the one doing those horrific action. Like that all were good, but like that's so much more terrifying than just like, oh yeah, I would have machete killing. But I'm the one that was the machete.
But I think that's good. I mean, in the role-playing context, that's good. If you can define what is horrifying and why, then you will steer clear of it. You will do the opposite. You will do anything in your power to stop it. You can put a name on it, right? There's this
That's
like...
so hard to do.
Go ahead.
It's so hard to do in the role-playing context, having those realization, though, having those, like, bring the player to that point. It's very hard.
And I don't think that as a game master, that should not be your goal. There can be a benefit that happens on accident, but I would not advise it to do it like, oh, that's why we roleplay the evil guys. Let's explore how deep the dark well really goes, you know.
There are, games that try to parallel, like the monster or the, compulsion kind of elements of people in the game. Think about Vampire the Masquerade, right?
Yes.
It's a game that's really trying to model that monster, that compulsion, that desire to feed and prey off of others.
A desire of power and dominating others against their free will.
Exactly. And I think that is, paralleling those ideas is maybe a safer way to do some of those evil things for most people, that wouldn't go as far as you two have expressed. Whereas, actually taking something real world and trying to embody that real world thing in a role-playing game might be difficult to not make it one dimensional, but also might make it difficult to, to go the distance with the character in the world that you need to do. Did I just kill everything?
No, I'm trying to. I was also reading comments, so I missed out a bit on the end there.
Oh.
So you mean like to explore some darker sides through those games, Vampire the Masquerade and such?
Yeah, I think they offer a line of safety to explore some of those themes, right? And you can take those themes as literally and as deep as you want to go, but that's, I think, in part what some of those games were designed to do.
I think you're right that they were designed to do that, but from back in the 90s, my memory back in like when those games were kind of new and fresh, I think they kind of failed to do that though. Because people did use them as power fantasy, largely.
I guess I would say that people missed the boat on the horror aspect of the game. That's true, but I think that it doesn't mean it's not there. It's just that when people played it, they played up the power fantasy versus the horror element.
I think it's the mechanics might have like played it, like maybe like the consequence for being monstrous weren't strong enough. But then again, is that something that you want to bring through mechanics? I don't know. Maybe it was just the vibe wasn't. Maybe like because 40 wasn't there yet.
Maybe
we let them down in the 90s, Mr. Max. We could have been there. Could have saved them all.
There was no internet stuff like that. But I remember I tried to play like a weird Vampire the Masquerade was big, like when in our group, like that really like displays D&D, and then I later like Werewolf even more so, I think, but that's a very different beast, pun not intended. But I remember like when we were playing like a Vampire, I was trying to explore this idea of like this struggle with humanity and stuff like that, because I thought that was an interesting concept. Like, and I like playing Malkavian, but I didn't want to play them like goofy guy. Like I said, like like trying to play like this guy with the mental illness and this like you kind of know, but you're not sure when it's what and what's real, right? And losing the grip and like the horror in that as well, right? Like trying to figure out not being able to trust your own sense in a way, right? And stuff like that. And when I was approaching that, I was trying to explore it in earnest manner and try to figure out like what it would be to be that kind of guy, right? What it trying to understand. But that was like, I was like the weird one in that. Most people just wanted to be like, I'm just goofy, I'm crazy. It's like, that's what people would do, right? It's like, it's unfortunate. But I guess maybe most people are not role players.
So you were trying to get into an uncomfortable spot and role play it out, feel it out, and
For me, I like to put myself in an uncomfortable spot when I role play. Like I want to live something, really. I want to have like this. I want to have some effect. Yes.
Yeah. It's gonna be very hard to get people down with that, especially strangers. And it's understandable why there's an aversion to going certain places. Like I had a dream one time. In this dream, someone hurt a dog, and then I hurt that person. I'll just say, and I woke up, and hear people talk about like, oh, I had to collect my emotions and whatever. I've never been that way. I'm not emotional like that. But when I woke up, I had this horrible feeling for like 30 minutes before, I was like, oh, I didn't like that. So it's understandable. Some people might not want to go there. And they're going to put up those walls.
Let's talk about that. Let's, not that specifically, but I had the same thought about vulnerability. Being vulnerable at the table with the other people, that's why we advise for high trust. Like 40 roleplay doesn't work without high trust because somebody might abuse it to get under your skin. And then they feign, oh, it's just what my character would do. Don't make a big stink about it, yada, yada, yada. No. The high trust comes first so we can establish the 40 roleplay style and stay in the universe, stay in character. So even if we roleplay out something evil, while you're vulnerable, it's going to be okay because the session's going to end and you can have some time to talk about it and be like, that was cool, that was awesome. I really felt it. I felt the hair on the back of my neck standing up. That was horrifying. And you have the catharsis, like watching a horror movie, you come out like, that was cathartic. And I'm so glad that the bad guy died at the end, they chopped his head off and unspeakable horrors onto him because he's a bad guy now. It's okay. But role-playing a character who is vulnerable, how do you feel about that? And have you role-played? Do you remember a scene of my character was just like a victim to the circumstances and leaning into that vulnerability of, oh, I played a character, he fell off a tree. It was like Stone Age, Neolithic, and I role-played breaking something. And the other players arrived and he said, oh, dear brother, how are you doing? Are you all right? And when it was my turn, I just screamed. Like, I'm in pain, That's all I did. Because I put myself into a vulnerable spot of, like anyone could kill me. My brother could leave me. His friend could be like, he is holding us back. We cannot try to carry him for the sake of the tribe. We must leave him behind. Something like that. That's a bit more cartoonish version. But can you think of moments you've been vulnerable in character and feeling like, all right, like, trying to get into character and feeling the realness of it, so to say?
I feel like when it's, this probably comes up in horror more, and I feel like I'm always the GM when it's horror. I never get to play horror for some reason.
I'll run you. We'll have to play a horror game. I'll run it. It'll be great.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
Will be great. Yeah, don't trust me.
Uh-oh. I mean, I can think of some sessions, this old UNPC session where we're on a ship. What do you call it? A generation ship called the New Dawn, and we discover this secret that nobody on the ship is supposed to know, and so all the leadership is like tracking us down. We're running through corridors and hallways, and they have guns and we don't, and they're just picking us off one at a time.
Well, yeah.
And it's like, you feel the tension. I think that's fun, feeling the tension, feeling vulnerable. One of my favorite, I don't know if it's, what do you call it? Creepypasta, or I don't know if it's creepypasta, but it's internet horror. One of my favorite stories is called Pen Pal. Mm-hmm. And without giving too much away, like you'll probably understand once you get into it. It's told from the perspective of a child, and he's being stalked by this person. Horrible, super vulnerable feeling. It's like, why would you read that? But it's my favorite because it gets, I don't know. You feel the horror when you read it.
Sure.
Right.
I think I've played. I know I've played vulnerable characters. I think having a vulnerability as a character oftentimes can enhance the character itself, because there is something, there is buttons people can push. There are places that are tough to go for that character. You know, I can remember, this is years ago, but a NPC asked my character why I was willing to do for them what my character was going to do. And I, admitted in character that I loved this NPC. And that was a really heavy moment that caught the GM off guard, that a little bit caught me off guard, but it was true. I guess I've been building for a while for this character that I was portraying. But it was very vulnerable to do that, because not only are you admitting this to the NPC and to the other PCs, but you're admitting it sort of within the fiction itself, and it can give people power over you, knowing that, like, this character, this NPC, knowing this now, had she wanted, she could have chosen to use that to manipulate me, and I would have been very difficult. It would have been difficult for me to resist.
Like the idea of like emotional vulnerability, right? I think those are much more interesting because when you go physical, like we're often drawn to play like men of action to some extent, right? Otherwise, like, and if you put character like with too much like if you put them in situation of where like they're completely disempowered, not much is gonna happen in the game, right? That's oftentimes like a risk. Like you need to be careful sometimes not to put your player like in something that would appeal to them as no-win scenario, because then they're just gonna sit on their end and do nothing, and that's not fun, right? Or unless like that's what you're trying to explore, right? Like for like I know like in the Wild Ale game that Phil was doing, where like a bunch of prisoners drop shipped on the planet and stuff like that, right? Like I was playing this guy, I was very careful because like I knew like, and I was the only one that kind of got the concept of what Phil was trying to do. We're supposed to like do a game that would have a lot of time skip and take place on years and years. So I was this guy that's gonna be like, well, you know, I'm here forever, so I'm just gonna be like, I'm just gonna survive, right? I'm not gonna take an undue risk and stuff like that.
Right. Playing with time skips, like let's skip a month, let's skip a season.
Yeah, but the other guy just went like gun blazing, getting into every fight they can, and trying to get off this rock right away, right? And like, anyway, it was just a miscommunication in session 0, I guess. But there was a lot of scene where like I was just like, basically I'm just hiding, and then we go round after round, and the creature is running around. I'm just like digging myself deeper in this trunk and taking a piece of bark over me, right? That was my turn oftentimes. So there's that, right? But yeah, emotional integrity, those are amazing to explore.
Have you role-played something akin to emotional insecurity for like one of your characters?
A lot of them have. Like I always try to bring something of that, right? Even like we mentioned of like a Kaneko, Fujiku Kaneko, right? The cat boy, the cat like,
samurai.
Yeah, and the cat samurai. Yeah, like a lot of the thing, like, and I don't like that didn't came up much in the game, but I had that in my mind, right? That he was basically a fraud. Like he wasn't coming from, it was like he like a lot of the way he depicted himself was kind of fake. Like he didn't came from like this noble tradition family and stuff like that. He wasn't like, he's just affect that he took. And so there was insecurity there. In the Horizon game, a lot of it, like there's a big part with Alan and Brick when Brick died, right? Where it's like in the coffin and stuff like that. There was a lot of insecurity there. Like there was a whole session after like Brick's death, where it's just like me and Crispy, and it was just about like reacting to losing basically his brother, right?
Yeah.
And those are great moment to roleplay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's incredibly powerful to allow yourself to get to a space where you roleplay somebody vulnerable, because you can. I don't think you can really fake it. You know, when you roleplay, you will know if somebody says the words or, goes through the motions. And it's not that the other players, like, if a player does it at my table, I'm not casting judgment. If are you there yet? Have you reached the dream world? Like, or whatever word. Well, I don't want to make fun of certain YouTubers, but like if you don't reach that place, then you must play with me more often. I must teach you to get there. I don't assume that mantle. I really want the players to feel. My room is open if you want to roleplay a vulnerable character. There is room for that at a 4D session, but then it's also. But I'm not forcing you to. I might force you. You might end up getting compromised because things happen in the world. But you can always. Yeah, go ahead.
If we're honest with ourselves, like we all as human beings have our insecurity, right? Everybody has like some level of insecurity here and there, right? Like we might deal better with them than other, right? Like some people, like we're not all like, some people get overtaken by them much more than other. But everybody got something somewhere that bothers them, right? More than people we should. And it's not to say that you have to do your characters have to share the same insecurity, but if you can understand your own insecurity, you can transfer that to some different type of insecurity on somebody else as well, right? It's like, but and that's also something I think like you can like just the exercise of getting in touch with your own insecurity can help you like feel better with them in a sense, and you and portrait character that have insecurity that deal with them at different level too.
I have an interesting comment from TTRPG, Nicholas. When I roleplay as a charming, handsome human, that does not change me. Why would anything else do?
I mean, I think that goes back to an earlier conversation that we had where, of course, it's not going to change you. If you're like, I'm an introvert through and through, but when I role play, I can be an extrovert, no problem. And I don't have that problem. But the reality is that role playing an extrovert doesn't make me more extroverted. I'm still an introvert at my core.
But I think that's maybe a bit different because like the extroversion, introversion, those are kind of like deep trait, right, of who you are, and one is not better than the other necessarily. Like there's just different way of operating. Despite like we always like encourage introvert to go out more. Like it's
like, stay indoors more. Like stop showing your face everywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Like
keep to yourself.
Well, shut up once in a while and not try to steal the spotlight all the time. But like you could though, by playing charming character, learn to become more charming yourself in a sense. If you just like you can try something, you see how the table react. I guess you could learn something there, right? We mentioned earlier like role playing as practicing social skill, right? That could be it. So it could change you. I don't have an opposition to that. I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying it could. You can learn something from your characters.
I mean, maybe. I guess. Oh, go ahead, Elf.
I was going to say, you're still the one that's in charge. You're deciding if you're going to learn from that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
And I also think too, it depends on how others around the table role play with your character, because you know there's certain skills that you could learn that might be transferable in your day in day out life, but then there's other things that wouldn't be so much, and it really in some part depends on how the role play goes down and what you generalize from that.
Yeah, I agree. So we did reach the 2-hour mark. So chat, if you have any questions, send them now.
There was a one last thing at least I wanted to touch about upon.
Yeah, I wanna take like 5-10 minutes and then conclude it. I know I've pushed you to the limit already for time. Go ahead.
Like one thing I wanted to say about like playing an evil character or anti-social character, like if we go like a lesser level of evil, right? There's some setting where those characters just work better. If you play like in a modern setting, right? If you play like in settings where like society is very well organized, very regimented and stuff like that, there's not much freedom of action for like in modern time. We don't have adventurer running around because like everybody got a role in society, things are organized, there's no frontier, there's no like. So if you want to play in a modern game, oftentimes you're gonna be drawn to play like criminal and stuff like that, and people that go outside of the realm because those people take the freedom of action that modern society doesn't allow, right? So there's some setting like that. When you have a setting that's very organized and very like structured, oftentimes you want to play characters that are outside of that. They're gonna be like those kind of like a bit scumbaggish criminal. That's oftentimes why. That's also why we often play like in those either medieval setting or space setting where you have a new frontier, where place where law is not established yet, where there's a lot of chaos and stuff like that, where you can still have freedom of action and be a good guy, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
there's also this thing to consider. There's something where like being a bad guy is kind of the way to go.
I'm all on board with that. I have the same thoughts. And I think that's why people romanticize pirates or Old West train robbers, Al Capone and his gang like that. They're robbers, They shoot people sometimes. They're not good, but there's something about the freedom of it.
Yep.
It was mentioned in a
comment.
comment.
Will on the wall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was mentioned in a comment earlier. The mafia, they have a code that they go by, and a code like informing how they act, and impose their freedom of action onto the world, and that can be very satisfying to roleplay. Of we might be stealing goods and selling drugs, but we also take care of our tribe, of our community, while also living in this gigantic city with, like New York, where everybody's getting more and more fractured, and people come and go. And it's very hard to find people, the same faces in the same places, to form a community.
I also like Conan too, because he doesn't have our modern code of ethics, but he's got his own code that he abides by.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and besides that, he goes out and he gets things by his own hands.
Yep. And this is kind of what we want to do in a role-playing game, right? That's why there's some setting that work better for war game and some setting that work better for role-playing game, because we're doing different thing. We're it's role-playing game are very, in a sense, individualistic. We play one character, so we want this character to be able to go out in the world and impose his will in the world, right? It's which we cannot do often in life, unless you're a criminal.
Yeah.
Well, I think also the final thoughts for me would be that the idea of vulnerability doesn't just apply to us as players, but also to our characters, right? Be them evil or not evil or whatever. Having a vulnerable evil guy is interesting, just as having a vulnerable not evil person would be very interesting. I also think that part of the benefit of playing the evil, as I've mentioned previously, is the philosophical gray that comes out of that, about the nature of evil, about exploring what it means to be good versus evil, and those kind of things, and the gray areas that develop. That's interesting tension that's created when you explore that gray. And I think that those gray areas lend a lot of light and add a lot to the game themselves, and are almost their own sense of vulnerability.
I like what you're saying about playing the evil, vulnerable character. I think that's very interesting as well. We often the cliche of who hurt you, right? People say when you're being mean online, so who hurt you? But that's often that's often a true thing, right? There's a lot of people are lashing out against the wall because they've been hurt and stuff like that. And it made me think, would you play Gollum once he's being when he's joined the hobbits and he kind of travel with them, once they, that could be an interesting character to play, right? This torture character that he's kind of evil, but he doesn't necessarily want to be, but he's been hurt by the ring, right? It's an interesting character to play there. That could work in a group and add quite a dimension. So
I have a final question to tie this into role-playing games. So what kind of games really help you play out those kinds of scenes? Because I see a couple people like Heike T, who is also on the Discord, really pushes for story games, being great for that, because you can create the scenes and play them out, instead of a normal role-playing game where we have skill rolls and the dice decide most of it. So one of them having, you don't set up the scenes like a movie, you just role-play, and the other, the story gaming, being a lot more, also being the guy on the camera, setting the scenes, and going through the motions, I assume powered by the apocalypse and their ilk. What do you think?
Well, if you're doing that, you're not looking through your character's eyes. You're looking through the camera up here, or you're writing your script on the clipboard or whatever. But I like games like Mithras or Pendragon. You have passions, or I don't know what Pendragon calls them. I think they're passions still.
Passion, virtue. You have both.
Passion, virtue. Yeah. Where it can inform your role play. If I have love brother or something, 70%. And I'm faced with a hard choice of like, I want to do something and leave my brother behind, but would my character really do that? And I have to fail that role in order to leave my brother behind. And of course, you can just roleplay that, but I think those mechanics like that are good support in some cases.
Yep. Big fan of Pendragon, but like I do agree that like I find like the mechanic of you have to fail on the like the virtue, like they go on, like they add up to 20 and you have like two sides often, and then if you want to act against one virtue that you have to roll that virtue and fail and then roll the other side and succeed, and it's just like a bit too complex. I think you should just roleplay that. You can just like use that to inform how your character act.
Right.
But that being aside, like about the story game, right? I find like if you decide on the scene and what is going to go up, you lose a lot of tension, right? For me, like when you roleplay those characters, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing how things are going to turn out, right? That's a big part of what's interesting, right? Like because like that's where you feel this tension, right? You know, like we are two characters, we have a conflict with each other. Mm-hmm. We don't know how it's going to end up, right? Well, who's going to be further? Who's going to give? Is a fight going to break out? That's interesting. Like, you know, that gets you on the edge of your seat.
And the edge is gone as soon as the game master says, "Oh, roll for initiative." Like, no, please.
Let me give the first slap first, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, your opinions?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I like what Max was saying. For me, I don't think there's a system that makes this easier or facilitates it more. I think it's a mindset you bring to the game itself, and that can be any game. And I think it's also, as we've, Elf Hunter mentioned, but also we mentioned earlier on, it's also the session 0 that you set the expectations about what kind of game we're having as well. And I think if you have those things in place, any game can work to really role play out these ideas of evil.
Absolutely.
A story game might actually hinder that because I'm playing a story game and my what do you call it, playbook, it says I can't do that. It says I can comfort my friend, or it says I can do whatever. You don't have that freedom.
All right.
Captain Conway has a question there.
Yeah, let's go to it. I'll pull it up. One of the most common... No, that's the other one. Good question.
Oh, the one before, yeah.
Yeah. Is there a way to play a game where the big bad, the evil guy, is a player? Where he is almost playing a side one-on-one game with the GM and the players are separated from him?
I have I run a game called Witch of Duncan Vale. That is basically that, right? Like I gave that's a game I approach with a premise. I say like, oh, there's gonna be like this conflict in this world between religion and a more rational approach, right? And religion is still big, but there's some shift going on, and now like there's those witch burning going on or those witch hunt going on, but now on those witch hunts, like some people from the rational side has to be included. That's the concept I give the player, and we'll do a one shot in that. Come up with character that fit that, right? And Phil made this priest character that was very shady and very skeevy, and that was unplanned up front, right? I had I don't plan much, but I had some idea like what a game. I don't plan at all to be, but during the game, like the way thing happened, Bill became the main antagonist of the game because at some point he got caught doing some shady stuff, and then like this whole conflict came to fruition. But that was kind of baked in the game that like I would want like because there's this thing where I will need at least one character from the ecclesiastical church side and one character from the academy side, and then decided like that. And then the other character can decide where they want to fall on that. Like they're gonna be soldier stuff like that. The two other one were soldier, and so you can decide which side you fall onto that. Like that's up to you. But very interesting because some of them like I had like well, I'm not very a believer, but that's my job to protect the church guys, so I'm gonna do that. So some people were the other guy has some hang up with the church, much more so. But it turned out like a very cool game because of that, and for me as a GM too, because like I just said, like I was surprised there's another character where the game was going. Very fun. I would highly recommend it. I don't know if it would work for a long campaign, but for one shot or two shot, certainly so.
Check that out. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was a great game. I've watched the WOD of that one at some point.
Yep.
There's a big problem that players and the game master has to learn to work around is the timeshare at the table. I like to say, hey, the game master, if the game master takes 50%, then the players have 12.5% each. And it's really hard to do the thing you want to do if the game master always reacts to you specifically. So it helps a lot if the game master takes 20% of the table and the other players interact more with each other back and forth and with the world and just do something until the game master has to inform more into the world. So if you have two different groups with opposite goals, then you need to learn to adjust your pacing at the table for that, so that the bad guy has some time of a bit of a back and forth with you, of what he wants to do, of his minions he's talking to, commands about, so like the evil research he's doing, or the skeletons he's summoning, and then closing the scene and moving to the players to see how they are reacting in the same time span as well. Time skipping is also an issue on, some people go to sleep, but the vampire wakes up. Now the vampire player wants 45 minutes to roleplay because it's when he is active while everybody else is passive. I've seen that become a problem at one of my live tables where I was a player. We tried to
in the Witch of Duncanville. In the Witch of Duncanville, we did have problem with that, and then we talked about like way to do time skip later on, right? Like, and I think we came up with a good solution for that. But it's you need some good table convention.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is going to be something you will figure out, or that you should figure out with your players. You will notice pretty quickly, like, oh wow, I was just waiting for 30 minutes until it's my turn again. That was boring.
Yeah.
All right.
Like Conway's comment, it is a bit tongue-in-cheek, but not really. He said, I want to take more important roles away from the game master. The quest giver should be a player. Villain, player. Everyone important in the world should be players. I even imagine doing what Space Roadie does where the players play NPCs too. I think it's almost starting to sound like, how do you say it? Brownstein, I think, but in character.
Brownstein.
Thank you.
The German is Brownstein. It's the Americans who turn it into a Steen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We figured that one out 2 years ago. Like, how did you miss that?
I don't know.
Jeez.
That's some old Mr. Max Sonala lore right there.
Yeah. I was so sick of like it's a fictional German town. It's not like some Jewish guy, right? So,
yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, but you're like just playing Willenstein, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But I think it could have like the quest giver being one of the player. I don't have any problem with that, right? Just like just mean like the guy that said, "Oh, I'm hiring those adventurers to go." We did that in technically we did that in the game, the first game we played of EZD6, where I was playing like a Korvac Wineslayer, and the rich character was technically the guy that hired Phil's character and my character.
Oh, the elf, yes. Right.
Yeah, the elf. Yeah. And he paid us with like fake jewel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good for nothing, dastardly, conniving.
Yeah.
All right.
So why not? You can do it.
Yeah.
Try it out. Give it a shot. Yeah, you get the 4D permission sheet signed here. You can try it out for 1d4 sessions.
Also, like, fucking experiment, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Absolutely.
Try stuff. You know, and you see if it works, if it doesn't work, and then you adjust, right? Just like we're just, you know, there's no, not like you're doing surgery, right? You know, it's like nobody's gonna die from it.
Absolutely. So with that, the ultimate last question to steal from Off the Rails Roleplay, did you have fun?
I did.
Oh yeah.
Good time.
Fantastic.
Good topic, man.
Thank you guys for showing up. There are channels out there. Dr. Mike is showing up sometimes on Better with Bacon's channel, which is Better with Bacon.
At times I do.
I don't know, like, do you, are you releasing anything public that you want to share with the people?
I have nothing to offer right now. You know, something always in the works, but nothing to talk about.
Get a handbook. It's free. He co-authored it.
There you go.
So it's
get the handbook. It's free.
Yeah, that's also in the description. You can just click the description, click the link. There you go. Mr. Max.
Yeah. Of the Rails roleplay. I need to learn to pronounce the S now. Of the Rails roleplay. My channel. We're gonna have a show tomorrow. As long as everybody's having fun. At 10 p.m. Eastern time, whatever time zone that is for you. That's it.
All right. Fantastic.
I'm still working on Master Sword. I'm progressing a lot on the magic system. Last stream we did, I did a stream lately with a Phil where we talked about it a bit, and he liked where I was going, and I liked where I was going, but it was still a bit clunky, and I think now I filled out a lot of like those rough edges. It's coming up as something like I'm excited about. Yeah. For like I'm gonna have the fucking best magic systems out there from a guy that fucking hate magic.
That's how it's done. That's how it's done. If you hate it, it means you file it down until it's perfect. Otherwise, it's gonna be like, it's just gonna irk you. Elf Hunter.
And my channel is called Elf Hunter's Role-Playing Channel, and I do lots of games on there. I've got a Mithras campaign on there. I'm doing a Shadowrun game. Do NPC every once in a while. And then, of course, I do an advice video here and there. Not as much, but I like to do that kind of thing. Also, in the chat, it was announced UNPC is about to go down. That's the ultimate no prep challenge on Chris's channel called Thanks Skeleton.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard of that, that's where people go and roll for GM, roll for genre, roll for tone, create their characters and talk about the setting in, 20 minutes or something, and role play for an hour, hour and a half. No prep, technically a little, that 20 minutes, but pretty much no prep. And it is a challenge. It is hard to do, but it's very rewarding and worth checking out. Again, it's on a channel called Thanks Skeleton.
Takes you out of your zone of comfort for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can also
it changes your perception of what low prep is.
Oh yeah. You know?
And it really exercises that creative muscle. I think it's worth it to play.
Crazy stuff. I had to run like a horror Thanksgiving game in that. I had to run like a dramatic lucha libre. You weren't there. No, who was in there? No, I forgot who was in there. Lucha libre, dramatic game, all kind of like crazy stuff. And so there's one also I want to talk about. I won't talk about, but like a comedic a survival game. Like, it was a fucking disaster.
Yeah, I wasn't going to reference that for the horror part. You were certainly getting out of your skin for that one.
Sometimes you stumble, right, and you crash out, but that's fine. So you just say, you know what? Let's fucking kill that. Let's wrap it up. It's not working.
You're still friends afterward.
Yeah.
That's why it's a challenge, right?
The comedy game was a nightmare. Yes, it was. But I'm glad it's out there because it shows people like, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
You survived.
Just try. Yeah, exactly.
You will see all kinds of crazy games. Conway said I GM'd the cranial cavity game. That one was crazy. So I was the GM, but I was narrating this college kid going to his first day of college, and the players were 3 parts of my mind controlling me.
Oh wow.
It was a challenge on top of a challenge. But
shit, man.
They said it was great, and they still remember it. So
it was amazing. It was very fun to watch. I was in the chat for that one. I made all the suggestions for you.
I know, and it possibly had the funniest moment in UNPC history, in my opinion, from Conway. But you'll have to watch it to see.
For me, Inside Roleplay, this is going to be it for now until I can figure out new topic ideas that would be interesting to get some guests on. I felt really inspired with the Capacity for Evil. Just such an awesome name for a thing to talk about. And I had some great guests that I really wanted to have on, namely Mike and Mr. Max, and Elf Hunter also joined, so we have 4 people on this car.
Yeah. He let me on because I was like, please. No. But I was really looking forward to this subject because I hadn't seen it talked about in 4D yet. At least I haven't seen.
So I'm more than open to make more of Inside Roleplay shows. So if you like this show and this format, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and tell me what you want to be talked about on Inside Roleplay. Are you interested in drama? Because I got 5,000 views on the drama video I did at the very end of the first show. I put it up as its own clip, 20-minute segment, and I got over 100 comments that all misunderstood me. But I also got 20 subscribers out of it.
There you go.
People love drama.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to talk about roleplay, which I hope people want, then people need to show up. You know, at some point, it's just like, well, I guess that's going to be Friday night from midnight until 3 a.m. because I need some time to, mellow out as well before I can go to sleep. So it's
it's late for you.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody who joined. Special thanks to Washik for showing up live for this one, so we can have a bit of a back and forth. And I didn't need to be like, oh yeah, that one friend that I played with, but now I disagree with because he doesn't understand 4D roleplay. So I'm super happy that we were able to talk about the details on this show. There's a link to the Discord, 4D Roleplay Discord, if you want to learn more about how to have more immersive roleplay, how to stay in character more often than not, and how do you even play at a gaming table where you don't talk out of character, where you don't ask the game masters questions. We have all the answers, or we give our best answer. All right, with that, gonna switch the scene. Goodbye, everybody.